Hi, welcome to BTT 234. This is skill number 9. This is bacterial culture and sensitivity. This is a practice run to get you to understand the process of inoculating an agar plate. Gives you an opportunity to practice that before you inoculate in real life. So in order to do the practice run, what you're going to need is some kind of round template that you can draw on, a piece of paper, a pencil, and then 4 different colored pencils will be very helpful for this. So just make 2 templates of your round object there on your paper. Flip the paper over and make a 3rd template on the back. Now you can follow along using your colored pencils on your streaking technique with what I'll be doing on the board. All right. I'm going to give myself a full plate template here. So this is for a full plate inoculation. I should use black. Full plate inoculation is typically what we use the first time we inoculate a bacterial sample onto an agar plate to culture it in our lab. And for that, we're going to be using sheep's blood agars, so those are your red agar plates. So sheep's blood agar. Would be an appropriate culture medium for this type of culture. Okay, so what we're going to think about as we streak a full plate is that we're going to be working in quadrants. So if you want to just sort of make imaginary quadrants for yourself on your template, then that can help you. So the first streak I'm going to make in the quadrant, in the first quadrant, is going to be the most bacterially dense. So I'm taking my sample swab or inoculation loop, and I'm dipping it into that bacterial sample that I want to use. For example, let's say that we took a nasal swab from a patient and we're trying to inoculate bacteria from that nasal swab. So that swab is going to be very heavily impregnated, covered with that bacterial sample. So the first technique that the first streak technique that you're going to use for a full plate is to take that swab and gently streak in a zigzag pattern and then stop. I'm representing this next streak with a different color because, again, you're getting a lighter streak of bacteria each time that you do this. So for your second quadrant, it's helpful if you turn your agar plate, and in this case you could turn your paper template a 1/4 turn, and you're going to take 2 streaks from the original inoculation and then zigzag that pattern across again. So what you're trying to do is pick up some of these bacteria that you already streaked on here and then spread them out across the inoculation plate. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then spread that across to thin that out. And I'm going to turn my agar plate a 1/4 turn and just repeat that process. 1, 2, 3, and streak across. So that's going to thin that out. And one more time, 1/4 turn. There. So what I've done now, hopefully if I've done this right, is I've isolated bacterial colonies so they don't have a mix of 14 different bacteria here that might be meaningless to me that I'm trying to identify. I might get down to 3 or 4 bacteria that are spread out enough here to where I can differentiate them by how they grow, and then pick those up and be able to identify those under the microscope after a gram stain. The next step then to discuss would be some samples require split plating, and this is discussed in lecture, so I won't go into that detail here. But the technique for split plates, this is your second template, would be that you have your plate and it's got a separation right down the middle there. And you're going to think of this as if you're splitting each half into thirds. So if you just make some imaginary lines here, this could be helpful. And then as you streak, you're going to apply your swab or inoculation loop in the first third, and then the next third, and then the final third, always ending far away from where your last inoculation was. And then you'll repeat that on the opposite side. A little bit awkward on the board. There you go. And then finally, once we have isolated a bacteria, we've identified it microscopically, then we're going to be setting up sensitivity plates. So for the sensitivity plates, we will use Mueller-Hinton auger plates. Those are full plates. And the technique that we use for measuring antibiotic sensitivity for streaking is going to be complete coverage or complete inoculation technique. So instead of dividing into 4 quadrants here, you're going to do a streaking of the whole plate 4 times. So it would look something like this. Your starting point all the way across. Stop. Turn your auger plate a quarter turn. And then streak again for full coverage all the way across. Not too close together or you won't get good isolation. A quarter turn again. All the way across. And one final time, a quarter turn. Start here. All the way across. And then the final act here would be to do a complete circle around the outer edge. And you're done. Now this plate will be incubated at body temperature after sensitivity discs are applied to it, which I will demonstrate with a real auger plate. All right, so there's your practice. Thanks.